Hi there, everybody. Good evening. It is the first day of February 2026. I'm Nate Eaton, and I'm back from Hawaii. So good to have you with me. So good to be back. I wasn't expecting to do a Courtroom Insider tonight, but because of what happened in the Banfield trial last week, on my flight home last night, I watched the testimony of Brent Banfield, and I figured I have to do a Courtroom Insider, especially because I think we'll likely get a verdict tomorrow on the 2nd. So, which is Groundhog Day. Anyway, I wanted to come on tonight and kind of recap his testimony. Many of you have written me saying, what did he say? You haven't had time to watch it. Well, tonight I'm going to do a brief recap of what he said when he was on the stand. So good to be back. Eric and I had an incredible time in Kauai. Saw some of you who watch every night. So good to meet you and so good to see you. And really had a great, wonderful time on the island. And good to be back here, though. It was interesting because I went to where Chad and Lori, I first encountered them, and actually we'll probably talk more about that tomorrow. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Tonight, assuming we have a verdict tomorrow, I want to jump right into Brendan Banfield's testimony. It can be very risky for a defendant to take the stand. A lot can go wrong on cross-examination. You could get stumped up. You're going to be asked the tough questions. And that is what happened with Brendan Banfield and his testimony. It stretched over 2 days last week. I believe it was last Wednesday and Thursday. The jury got the case Friday, still no verdict. They're going to resume deliberating tomorrow, which is Monday, and we'll see if they have a verdict. I think they deliberated about 3.5 hours, maybe a little less, a little bit more. And I'll just walk you through Brendan Banfield's testimony. He talked about how he met his wife, Christine. They were 18. They were in their freshman year at Quinnipiac University. He's from Long Island. They moved to Virginia after he got a promotion with the IRS as a case agent, or a special agent. He was a tax compliant officer, and then he became a law enforcement special agent. And Christine was also, she had to move too, but it ended up, she didn't really have a job lined up from what he said, but it ended up being good for her because there were more opportunities for her to progress in her career when they moved to Northern Virginia. He was asked about his wife and daughter, Valerie, toward the beginning of his testimony, and here's what he said.
Describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what your family was.
My family was me, Christine, and my daughter, Valerie.
And what kind of things would you do? Well, prior to you having Valerie, what kind of things would you and Christine enjoy together?
Christine and I had a very active social life. We spent a lot of time with our friends. This included playing board games and cards, as well as going on vacations together, and going on vacations with other couples that we were friends with. We did a lot of hiking, going to different forests and different mountains kind of around the country. We also spent some time. We played kickball together. We did quite a bit intramurally.
Okay. And when Valerie came along, were you in New York or were you in Virginia?
We were still in New York at that point.
Okay. And so how old was she when you left New York?
She was not one yet. She was 10, 11 months.
Okay. Now, what kind of things, and sorry, once again, before Valerie, what kind of things would, in addition to the hiking, what kind of things would you and Christine enjoy doing together?
I would say that we spent a lot of time together. When we weren't working, we did a lot of work around our house. We had two dogs, two huskies that we took care of. We're often taking them on our walks and hikes.
And so, in addition to those things, you also both worked?
Yes.
And what did Christine do for work?
Christine had several different jobs. Her primary position was as a pediatric intensive care unit nurse. At other points, she did private healthcare for an individual family. She also did some product training for medical devices, and she also worked as a sexual assault nurse examiner for several years.
Now, Christine and Brendan owned a mathnasium together they had about 5 to 7 years. They sold the business before they moved to Virginia. He did math assessments. She kind of ran the business. When they moved, as I said, it was a promotion for Brendan, also a promotion for Christine. And he was flat out asked by his defense attorney. Remember, this is his defense attorney asking these questions. What was your relationship like with Christine?
You met when you were 18, so how long were you together, including your non-married life and married life?
About 19 and a half years.
And how would you characterize your relationship with Christine?
For the most part, we were pretty inseparable. We were together the entire time. We didn't break up at any point. We were from college to our first jobs after college, to buying our first house together, to marriage, to getting a dog and a second dog, and then moving down here. We were always together, always planning for the future. This was part of our life.
Brendan went on to say that Valerie really brought their family together, and extended family. She was the first grandchild in the family, and so his parents and her parents would often help with babysitting, especially with different schedules. Christine worked 12-hour shifts beginning at 6:30 a.m. Brendan actually often started his days working at 6 a.m. When they both had to work, a set of grandparents would come and watch Valerie. And Valerie is turning 8 in March, if you can believe it. And she, according to Brendan, was very involved in both of her parents' life, Christine's life and Brendan's life. He helped her out with math, crossword puzzles, and games. Christine loved Valerie. They were close. They did art projects together. And then, as he's talking about their family, their relationships, what they did together as a family, his attorney flat out said, "Did you love Christine?"
Did you love your wife?
Very much.
Did you want to continue your marriage with your wife?
Yes.
Do you love your daughter, Valerie?
More than anything.
Now, over the next little while, a lot of photos of the family were shown. We did not see them as the public, but the jury did and the court did. There were photos based on the descriptions of what Brendan said on the stand of the family on cruises, vacations, spending time together. And this is when the affair with Juliana was brought up. Remember, Juliana was the au pair who was there at the time of the deaths, allegedly. Different stories, of course, on each side. She testified earlier in the trial, was the first witness who said that it was all a setup, and she did it. She turned on him because she got a deal. But anyways, let me play a little bit about what he said about their relationship with the au pair.
Did you have a relationship with Juliana Perez Magahais?
Yes.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when did that start?
I guess the relationship started as professional in October of 2021, when she came to be a au pair or a nanny for our family.
Okay, and she came through an agency?
Yes, from Cultural Care is the agency.
What were the parameters of the Cultural Care exchange that she came through? Do you know?
She would come and provide childcare for the family. It would include room and board, that she would be able to take educational opportunities, such as at a local community college. She can work, I believe, up to 45 hours a week, and she would generally provide a loving environment and activities for Valerie.
In terms of your contact with Juliana, describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what kind of contact would you have on a daily basis prior to having a relationship?
Prior to having a relationship, it was mostly logistical. I may inform her when I was going to get home from work, if I had any delays, making sure that Valerie was getting to, say, dance lessons if Christine and I were not available then. Juliana would generally bring Valerie to preschool on the days that she was working. And we might just talk about activities for her to do with Valerie on days that they were working.
Then in August of 2022, the affair started, and he was asked how it all began.
So in August, Juliana and I were home alone. I had to work on both Saturday and Sunday. So I believe the original day was a Friday. Christine and Valerie were in New York, and Juliana started texting me while I was preparing food in the kitchen. It was an unusual line of text as she was complaining about.
Let me, if I may just
Sure.
interrupt, where was she and where were you in the house?
I was in the kitchen. I believe she was upstairs in her room.
Okay, sorry. Please go. Continue.
It was a unusual text conversation in terms of that Juliana was complaining about her dating activity and the people that she was seeing at the time. I don't particularly like texting, and I think I basically said that if she wanted to talk, that she could come to the kitchen.
Okay, and what, if anything, happened?
At that point, Juliana showed me quite a few screenshots of her dating app. I believe it was Hinge, and the people that were in the Hinge app all had similar names to me. Their names were Brendan and Brandon and Brennan. And these were people that she had matched with on the app.
And so, and how did it progress from there?
She was making quite a few jokes about it. At some point, I finished cooking and was eating. I don't believe that Juliana actually ate dinner at the same time. We talked about other unrelated things. Talked about there was some family history of alcoholism and how her family in Brazil was dealing with that. And we spent maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours talking about some random things, but also about her dating history. During this time, when she was talking about different people, she was described people that she was interested in, people that were taller, people that were older, and it appeared to me that she was along with the photos, that the screenshots that she had shown me of people that she had matched with, that she was basically describing me. Also, I guess when we were having this conversation, we were sitting at the island in the kitchen, and she scooted her seat closer to mine a couple times.
And so what did you do at that point?
I did not stop her advances. At some point, I told her that I was going to go upstairs, indicating that I was going to go to bed. And she said that she was tired and that she was going to do the same. A little bit of information about the upstairs of my house. Once you go upstairs, the master bedroom is to the left, and all the other bedrooms are to the right. So her bedroom, a guest bedroom, and Valerie's bedroom are to the right. When I went upstairs, I went to the left, and she also took a step towards the left with me. And we had a brief conversation there, and then she came with me into my bedroom.
Did you ever talk to her either that night or later about a continuing relationship?
We did not talk that night about continuing a relationship. We did talk about, I would say, in the next few days, I guess we spoke a little bit about the relationship. She had indicated that she was concerned that I was going to tell Christine and that she was going to be essentially fired and sent back and lose her job, which I indicated that I wasn't going to tell her.
So he admits to having an affair with Juliana. He admits to having previous affairs, said that this one with Juliana was, quote, just an affair, and that he didn't think anything would change in his relationship with Christine. He says Christine was aware of 2 previous affairs. Brendan was aware that, according to him, Christine had also had affairs. Affairs happened when they both traveled for work. They saw other people. They ended up going to therapy before Juliana was born, before Valerie was born, and decided to continue their marriage. After he and Juliana started their relationship, their sexual relationship, they started to spend a lot more time together. And Valerie would often come with Brendan to places that previously he had only gone to with his daughter, like soccer practice. It'd be him and her. Well, then Juliana started coming along. Remember that the prosecution has said that Juliana and Brendan created a plan to get rid of Christine so that they could get married and have a family. He was asked, did you ever create a plan with Juliana?
Did you ever create any sort of a plan with Juliana?
No, there was no plan. At this point, our relationship is maybe 6 to 8 weeks old. I think that it's an absurd line of questioning for something that is not serious, that a plan was made to get rid of my wife. That is absolutely crazy.
So with no plan, let's talk about Silver Eagle Armory.
Sure.
Okay. So how did that happen where Juliana went to you or went with you to the Silver Eagle Armory?
So it was basically one of those things where it was something that I was going to be doing outside the house. Generally, I would go to a shooting range every month, every other month, to practice before my qualifications for my job.
And how many times did you have to qualify for your job?
You have to qualify twice a year, but there's practice so there's practice on the opposite quarters. So there would be, I guess, 2 trainings and 2 qualifications. And generally I would go practice prior to having one of those training sessions or qualifications at my job.
And how is it that Juliana ended up coming?
I was going to be going there anyways. She thought it would be fun to attend, as well as it was going to be out of the house. It was something that there wasn't going to be risk of being found out by Christine.
Now, Brendan was asked about going to firearms training. He was an IRS agent, and so he was authorized to carry a gun, but he also went to firearms training with Juliana twice. And he was asked about this. Why? And he said, we just went, I guess, for fun. He was asked about FetLife, the website, the sexual website where the hookup between Christine and Joseph Ryan was set up. The defense says it was set up by Christine, but the prosecution says it was set up by Juliana and Brendan. He says he didn't know about FetLife. He didn't know about Telegram until after Christine died. Then we get into February 23rd and 24th. Remember, Christine died on February 24th of 2023. His birthday was the 23rd. So here's kind of what he said the plan was for those 2 days in his account.
The 24th, your day was planned, and what did you fill your day with in terms of your plan?
So, but in terms of the day was an important day for me at work as well. There was a important meeting for one of my cases. There was going to be a undercover operation for one of my cases. And we were meeting with the undercover officer, a senior special agent, and my manager. And that meeting was scheduled for 9:30 that day. This was a particularly important meeting for me, as had been indicated that success in this case may lead to me getting a promotion to a senior special agent.
Okay, so had you ever heard that kind of talk before?
Yes, other people that were hired at a similar time as me, you have to hit certain milestones before you could progress to being a senior agent.
So Friday, February 24th, 2023 was potentially a milestone for you?
Yes.
In terms of your career?
It was supposed to be the meeting that would set up for the undercover operation, which was going to take place most likely on Tuesday. So we were going to go over all the documentation and the plan for the operation on Tuesday, the following week.
Brendan says he woke up extra early on the 23rd because around 6:30 to get to the office because he had to get to Vienna, Virginia to set up the conference room. He said Christine was on her phone when Brendan was in the shower. She wished him luck, said she loved him. He went downstairs, he got his badge, his gun, his laptop, and then he prepared to leave the home. Now, there was a lot of discussion in earlier testimony about who used Christine's laptop and who used her phone. Was it Brendan or Juliana who went on her laptop and set up the encounter so that the evidence would trace back to her? Brendan testified that he never took Christine's laptop or phone, that she kept her laptop upstairs next to the bedroom. Her phone was always connected to her, his words. And he never saw Juliana grab either the laptop or the phone because she had her own laptop and phone. Valerie and Juliana were supposed to go to the zoo on the morning of the murders. That was set up. They were going to leave the house by around 7:20. He left the house at 7 a.m., decided to go to McDonald's for breakfast. Now, earlier, Courtroom Insider last week or 2 weeks ago, I showed you the video of him going to McDonald's. It looks a little odd because he goes through the drive-thru or goes around the building, then parks, then goes inside for 7 minutes. He's in the bathroom and then leaves the restaurant and goes home. And the prosecution was saying what was happening in those 7 minutes. That was when his wife was getting killed by Joseph Ryan. And he was asked about this. Why did you circle through the drive-thru? Here's what he said.
You went to McDonald's. There, you saw the video of that the Commonwealth showed of you driving up to the drive-thru.
Yes.
And it looks as though, well, it appears you go past the drive-thru at one point. Is that correct?
I did. I circled the drive-thru.
What was the reason for that?
The McDonald's app has a QR code so that you get reward points and you can use the deals that you get. And when I initially opened it, it didn't provide me with my code. And that's why I was like blocking the drive-thru. And so then I basically just got back in line once the code came up.
Okay, and so
It was pretty quick.
and you had that app on your phone at that time?
I've had the McDonald's app for several years.
Okay. Now, when you, so I'm sorry, explain to me a little bit about that app. I'm not familiar with it.
You can order directly from there, but that's generally not what I do because then the food gets made before you get there. So normally I just open up the QR code section and you can look at the deals, and the deals tell you, you can get a free hash brown with your breakfast, and you can load that, or you can get a orange juice or coffee with it, and then you'll get reward points, and you can use the reward points to get free food too. So
Okay.
it's kind of a loyalty app that's you would find for many restaurants.
And so, when it didn't work the first time, you came back around?
Yeah.
And did it work?
Yes. Then my QR code came up, and I went to order.
Okay. So when we see you in your work vehicle with your sunglasses on, you got your food after that?
Yes.
Okay. And then what did you do?
I pulled straight forward. The McDonald's, the shopping center that the McDonald's is in, the McDonald's is kind of a standalone building. But basically you cross over the road. It's a road in the parking lot. You cross over the road. It's only, it's a two-way road. And basically right on the other side of that road is parking spaces. And I was going to sit there to eat my breakfast.
Okay. And what was the parking space? What was the landmark next to your parking space?
It's kind of in front of Chuck E. Cheese, but it's really only a few feet from the exit of the drive-thru.
He went on to testify that he stopped to eat his sandwich from McDonald's, his breakfast sandwich from McDonald's, but there was a cookie that was left over in the car from the night before, like a crumble cookie, one of those big ones. And so he ate that first. Then he started the car back up and went into the McDonald's to use the bathroom. While he was in the bathroom, he said he got a call from Juliana, who was in distress. He left the bathroom and went to the car. And on his way, he called Christine a few times, he said, but she never answered. He rushed home. It took him about 10 minutes. And again, there was no plan with Juliana, he said. Now, that was the end of the testimony on his first day. His testimony stretched into 2 days. So from here on out, you're going to see him in a different suit. Day 2 of his testimony, he stressed that there was no plan. He talked about Juliana extending her visa. She was supposed to stay for a year in the beginning, but she extended her stay. She wanted to stay. I think the defense was trying to plant in the mind of the jurors that she was desperate to stay in America, and if she married Brendan or was with him, she could extend her stay out. But then we go back to the day of the murders, the February 24th of 2023. Here's what happened according to Brendan when he got home from McDonald's.
When you approached Juliana, what, if anything, did you do?
I asked her if the person just went into the house. As that was a question from previously, and she had indicated yes.
Okay. And was there a specific, at that point, did you know how the person got into the house?
I knew that they got into the house through the front door, but I didn't know more than that. It sounded to me at that point that they just went into the house without delay, I guess.
Okay. In terms of what you were told by others?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you do at that point?
I told Juliana to stay at the car.
Okay. And what about regard to Valerie?
I didn't address Valerie specifically, but they were in the car, and I had just told Juliana specifically to stay at the car.
In doing that, was it your intent that she would stay with Valerie?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, after you told her that, what did you do?
I walked partially down my driveway. My driveway is kind of a little bit long because it splits between me and my neighbor's driveway. And this was so that I could see a little bit better of what was going on. And this is when I saw a silver Jeep in the driveway, and that my front door was closed.
Now, so at this point, knowing what you know at the point that you saw the silver Jeep, how did that make you feel, and what were you concerned about at that point?
I guess it made me very anxious. I didn't know what was going on. I had concerns that this was going to be an affair, but I didn't know really what was going on at that point.
Okay. Did you think to call 911 at that point?
I didn't think that. It wasn't on my mind at this point that this was some type of violent or threatening encounter.
Now, Brendan said he didn't go to the front door. He didn't go through the front door because the keypad makes noises and he didn't want the noise to set off anybody in the house. He wasn't sure what was going on. He ended up going through the back door, and he saw that their dog was in the basement, which he said was unusual because the dog was always upstairs, like in the master bedroom or another room in the house. The dog was frantic, jumping up and down. So he goes down into the basement where Juliana is holding Valerie. And there's another vehicle in the driveway, and he isn't sure what to make of what's going on. There's he does a quick search of the basement. Nothing's there. He goes upstairs to the main floor. He heard sounds upstairs that he described as skin-on-skin contact. And he said he thought that Christine was having sexual intercourse with a person upstairs, that she was having an affair. He was emotional. He said he was upset, but he figured, well, I'm just going to leave, go back to work. She's having an affair. And that's why he didn't think to call the police, because he thought it was them just having sex. Well, then the sounds changed, he said. And he started to hear moaning or someone more in pain. And so he went upstairs.
Outside the room, I headed towards the door, and I pushed the right of the double doors open with my foot.
And did you otherwise have something in your hands?
Yes, I had my firearm in my hands.
Okay. And when you pushed with your foot. Which foot was it?
My right foot.
Okay. And were you able to see or hear any more when you did that?
Pushing the door open with my right foot revealed Christine and who I now know is Joseph Ryan. They were on the floor near the bottom left of my bed, kind of in front of the master bathroom door, just past the bed, in between the bed and the tall dresser.
Okay. So you just described it as the bottom left. Describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how do you come to bottom left? What position are you in order to describe it that way? If you're in the bed.
Yes, if you were in the bed or facing the TV that's in there, the left would be the bottom left corner. That would be the part that's closest to the master bathroom.
Okay, thank you. And so you indicated you saw Joseph Ryan and Christine.
Yes.
Had you ever seen Joseph Ryan before?
I had never seen Joseph Ryan before.
Had you ever had any communications with him before?
On February 24th is the only time I had communications with him in that room.
Okay, so when you observed this, and please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury exactly what you observed with regard to his contact with Christine.
Christine was, I would describe as nude and on all fours, on her hands and knees. And Joe Ryan was behind her, like angled slightly behind her, and from my position at the door, slightly to the left of her. He was clothed, and he was looking directly at me as I opened the door.
And when you first caught eye contact with him, where exactly were you in relation to the bed, and where were they?
No, I was maybe one step into the room.
Okay. Now, when you observed him, what, if anything, did you observe about the situation prior to anything being said?
I observed, basically, as soon as I went in the room, it appeared that Christine tried to get up, but I guess I'm unsure if it's that Christine tried to get up or if Joe Ryan pulled her up. It's hard. I can't really tell, but Christine went from being on all fours, hands and knees, to more like being on her knees.
Now, had you said anything to them or to him specifically?
Almost immediately, I said police.
Okay, and what was your intention in doing that?
Alerting the room that I was there.
Okay, and at the time that you said police, was your gun in plain sight?
Yes, I was holding my gun forward.
And your badge, was that in plain sight?
My badge is on my belt, so that could. I don't know if he could see it, but it is. Okay. It is a gold badge that is attached to my belt.
You know, this is when he says the police were called. I played the 911 calls for you earlier. He moved over to Joseph Ryan, told him to drop the knife, and said, or sorry, I need to back up. He did not call the police at this point. He said police, like I'm police, like to alert the people in there that a cop was there. He moved to Joseph Ryan, told him to drop the knife and let her go. And here's what happened next, according to Brendan.
I did not want to shoot him. I wanted him to let her go.
And so after he said you dropped the gun, what did you say?
I repeated to drop the knife and to let her go.
And did he say anything to you?
He did. He told me that she was hers, that she was hers, and that she gave herself to me. And Christine kind of yelled, moaned at this point also.
Okay, I'm sorry, you said she was hers?
She was his, sorry. She was his.
Can you say the whole statement?
He said that she was his and that she gave herself to him, to me, is what she gave herself to me, is what he said.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I interrupted. What happened then?
Christine kind of yelled or moaned, or both, and it seems that she went to her left, my right, a little bit.
Okay. Now, when she yelled or moaned, what did that indicate to you?
I thought that she was being injured, being stabbed.
Did you see him stab her?
It appeared that he was putting forward movement towards, or it seemed that he was putting forward movement towards with the knife, but I couldn't see Christine's neck or face really at that point. Her hair was in the way.
Okay. So if you can, explain for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why it was you couldn't see Christine's face or her neck.
Christine's hair was, I would describe as kind of wild at this point. Not normally it's brushed and straight, or, well, not really. I mean, it's still curly, but it's more kept. It was kind of large and frizzy at this point, and I couldn't really see very well.
Okay.
Now, Brendan testified that he had never used his firearm outside of the range. He'd never shot anybody. He told Joseph, again, to let his wife go and said he'd be under arrest. He said that Joseph told him to leave. Now, at this point, his wife, he says her hair's covering her face. He can't really see what sort of pain or anything she's in, or that she's been stabbed. But he saw Joseph, according to him, do a forceful stab into Christine. And when he did it, he said that Christine's face turned toward Brendan, and then she kind of fell forward. It landed on her stomach, and he realized the seriousness of the injuries, and that's when he shot the gun and shot Joseph. Then he saw the knife on the floor, and he kneeled down next to Christine. Now, at this point, he says Juliana came in the room. He told her to call 911 and keep an eye on Joseph in case Joseph moved. He kind of goes to leave the room. Then he hears another shot. He said he didn't see it. He heard it. And Juliana, because Juliana was holding his other gun, and she fired it at Joseph again. But he says around the same time, right like this millisecond before he heard the gunfire, Joseph struck him or tried to touch him. So he made it sound as if he had shot Joseph. He was on the ground. He went to call 911. Juliana's in there. Joseph goes to go after Brendan. Juliana shoots him again. He didn't actually see him. He says he felt him, and then Joseph fell to the ground. You can go watch all this testimony. I'm summarizing it very compact because this was hours and hours of testimony. A couple more questions, and then it was time for cross-examination. And here is how the prosecution began.
You didn't tell the police in the house, you didn't tell them in the driveway, you didn't tell them at the hospital, you didn't tell them back at the station, correct?
I said what I did on the 911 call. I was not questioned by the police at the house, in the driveway, in the ambulance about what had happened.
Okay, but you were questioned at the police station. You didn't tell them then, right?
Actually, I was not questioned at the police station.
Okay. It's been 3 years. You have not had an opportunity to tell the police in the last 3 years what happened?
Yes, they have requested to speak to me. The police did request Detective Bryant, I believe, requested to speak to me at the hospital, not at the police station. And yes, they did request to speak to me through my attorney subsequently.
Okay, and you were given the opportunity to tell a court what happened when you were brought in to testify at Juliana's preliminary hearing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and at that point in time, you didn't tell anybody this story, right?
I was advised that that defense of others is not relevant for preliminary hearings, and it was my intention that I was going to testify at Juliana's trial.
Okay, but at the preliminary hearing, you didn't even admit to Christine being your wife, correct?
That's what I was instructed to by my attorney.
Okay, so now that you've heard all of the evidence, every possible hearing that could happen in this case has happened. Now you are ready to tell us what happened. Is that accurate?
I was ready to tell what happened at Juliana's testimony, at Juliana's trial when that was scheduled for November. And
Okay.
I've been waiting to do that for mine. I was expecting my trial to be earlier than this too.
But at no point in time have you reached out to law enforcement to tell them, no, at no point have you had your counsel reach out to law enforcement to tell them this story?
Actually,
of
I
you
did
protecting
have-
your wife. Excuse me, I'm not finished. You have not asked anyone to talk about how you saved your wife or tried to save your wife, have you?
Actually, I did. I told counsel that I would participate in any of the civil investigations that was going to be involved with my agency, and that I would talk to them regarding this case as they required.
Okay, did you do that?
They did not take it up, was my understanding, because I believe the Fairfax police did not want them to.
Okay.
He was asked about his affair, affairs plural, was asked about Discord. That's the app he and Juliana used to communicate on. The prosecution said, why didn't you just use Messenger? You used Messenger to communicate with your wife, Christine. Why didn't you just use Messenger? Why did you use Discord? And he said that it was just easier for them to communicate that way. And he didn't think about using Messenger. I got a little defiant with the prosecutor at times. She asked, did you love her? He said, yes, I loved her. And then Discord messages, did you love Juliana, I should say. And he said, I told her I loved her. And then the prosecution showed Discord messages on the screen about him expressing his undying love for her. And several times, Juliana said she was going to break up with him, and he begged her not to. And she asked, what did you think when Juliana broke up with you? And he goes, well, she broke up with me numerous times. Here's a little bit about that.
If we look at line 30, which I'll highlight for you here, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2023, Juliana tried to break up with you, right?
Juliana broke up with me numerous times.
Okay, on this occasion, she said, I told you I'm seeing other people. We spoke about this already. I won't be going, speaking of this trip to New York that you were going to take with Valerie,
Yes.
right? I'm sure you two will have lots of fun, something to that effect, right?
Yes.
Okay. This upset you, didn't it?
No.
No? Okay. You beg her in the next several messages to please talk to you, correct? How are you? Do you want to talk? We can chat. We'll scroll up so you can see more.
And those are a different day, that appears.
Well, it looks like it's within hours. Yes, midnight happens and we've moved into another day, but you're still asking if you can talk to her, right?
Oh, that appears to be what it says.
Okay.
We went on to hear about the letter that he wrote to Juliana, the letter they wrote back and forth when she was incarcerated. He confessed his undying love for her. Excuse me. And he was asked about that. And he said, the reason once Christine died, my love for Juliana only grew by leaps and bounds. And I became passionately in love with her. We weren't in love like that before Christine died, but once I lost my spouse, I was in love with her even more. And that's why my letters to her were so passionate. Again, she was asked about the history of affairs, was asked about Christine being on fetish websites and messages and a blood clot disorder that she had.
When these solicitations occurred between Christine and the other users on FetLife, she was looking for someone that she expected to engage with her sight unseen, correct? There were not to be any meetings in public in advance of this hookup. Correct?
That is what the messages seem to appear.
Okay. And she was only doing this when either you or Juliana were home, correct?
It appeared to me that it happened when I was not home, based on what was presented today often.
Right, but Juliana was home, correct?
I don't necessarily know where Juliana was at those points.
You just know that you weren't there, correct?
Well, we went through lots of the evidence that showed that there was many times that I wasn't there. There was points that it showed that the messages were logged into from the CBRN email that Juliana states that she has no knowledge of, never logged into, doesn't know the password to. And so if Juliana is the home, whether she is or not, the only other person that is home is Christine that
Right. But most importantly, you are not home, correct?
It appears that there was many messages that were sent while I was home and many messages that were sent while I wasn't home.
I am asking, you were not home.
There is both messages that from when I was home and when I was not home, it appears.
Okay. So the person that she picked again was one who was willing to come to her home, not a hotel, without any sort of public meetup first, as seemed to be the ask from most of the other participants on FetLife. Accurate?
I didn't read the other messages between the other people.
Okay. And this person needed to be willing to bring a knife, correct?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't see an ask for the knife.
No problem. You were present for your daughter's birth. You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, were you aware that Christine received medication to address her blood clotting disorder?
My experience is that she did not, that they tested her in her prenatal experience and that she did not require a medication for it, but they were going to monitor her for it during the delivery.
Okay, because you were aware she had a blood clotting disorder, correct?
I am aware that she has a blood clotting disorder.
Okay.
Now, the prosecution wrapped around to the morning of the shooting as well and tried to have the timeline laid out more clearly than it was. It is interesting that on the day that he has to go early, normally he leaves the house 7:30-ish. The prosecution was trying to make the point, why would you set up a sexual encounter for 7:20 when your husband normally goes to work at 7:30 and you have a child and an au pair who are going to the zoo at 7? Like that, would you not put it for 8 or 8:30 or 9 just to be safe? Why 7:20? And he was asked about this.
When you set this whole thing up,
I didn't set this whole thing up.
I'm sorry, when Christine set this whole thing up, it was scheduled to occur minutes after her family was leaving the house at 7 a.m.-ish, correct?
I don't know what time her family was leaving the house.
Oh, you hadn't shared with her your plan to go to your meeting early the next morning?
I didn't have a meeting the next I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Sure, the night before on the 23rd,
Oh, on the
right?
23rd, sorry.
When she is setting this up, she's scheduling it to occur at 7:20-ish a.m., which was going to be minutes after everyone had left the house to go to the zoo, to go to the big meeting, right?
That is what the messages seem to say.
Okay, and are you telling us that your wife was not aware that you had this big meeting scheduled for the 24th?
She was aware that I had the meeting scheduled.
Okay, and was she aware that the nanny was taking your daughter to the zoo?
It appears to me that she arranged for Juliana to take Valerie to the zoo. She got the parking tickets to take her to the zoo. She had planned it, I don't know, a week, 10 days prior.
Right, and the zoo opens at 8 o'clock and everyone's leaving at 7, but she scheduled Joe Ryan to come over at 7:20. Is that correct?
I don't know what time she scheduled exactly.
Okay. And you indicated that you were not aware that she had taken February 24th off until just the day before, right?
That is correct.
Okay, but that's not accurate because her parents were scheduled to come while you were going to be out of town the night of the 24th. Isn't that correct?
I believe they were coming in the evening and then she would already be back from work.
I see. So your expectation was that she was working that day, but their expectation and everyone else's expectation is that she would be home.
I don't believe it was ever stated that she was going to be home, that they were aware that she was going to be home. My experience was that she was scheduled to work until that day.
He's also asked about that McDonald's visit, that when he was walking to the car, why didn't he call 911 or tell Juliana to call 911 if she was nervous? He said that he didn't think to have 911 involved and figured that he would take care of the situation when he got there. And then he was asked about his response to the injuries. A couple of more questions were asked on redirect from the defense, and then he was done. He walked off the stand. The final witness for that day was the audio specialist who analyzed the beginning portion of the 911 call. That witness had actually been called earlier, but because of complications, he did not testify. And before the snow break, and that's it. So that's where we stand now. Tomorrow we will be back here on Courtroom Insider. Hopefully there might be a verdict. It could go into Tuesday. We'll kind of break down closing arguments tomorrow too. It'll be interesting too, because we'll talk about the verdict if there is a verdict, and then go back and talk about the closing arguments, what each side said, and if that swayed it. Remember, closing arguments, they're not evidence. They're just what the jury is to consider. It's not evidence and it's not witness testimony. It's kind of a wrap up of everything. So there it is. You can go back. We have it on our East Idaho News YouTube channel, the whole trial from day 1 to day 10. And if you want to watch Brendan Banfield's testimony, you can go back, watch it in double time if you want. It's pretty interesting when the defendant takes the stand. I'm always fascinated by it. And it made that 6-hour flight from Kauai back to where we flew into Seattle, and then Seattle to Idaho Falls. It made it fly just like that. It was great. So there's where we're at with the trial. Well, we're not going to be live streaming tomorrow until we have a verdict, and I don't know what time that'll be. Normally, I'd say join us at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, but we won't know. If we have a verdict at that early, we will, but we'll keep you posted. Okay, newspapers.com. They are the sponsor of Courtroom Insider. I was playing around with newspapers.com over the past few days on vacation. I found a cool write-up about my dad. And this was from the Orem Geneva Times, Thursday, August 21st, 1975, on page 11. Andrew Eaton Jr. received his master's degree in mechanical engineering at exercises held last Friday at BYU. He's the son of Mr. and Mrs. Andrew Eaton Sr. of Orem. He's married to the former Alana Cope, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Cope. He and his wife have moved to Idaho Falls, Idaho, where he will be employed by the U.S. government in atomic energy research. I don't have any ties to Idaho except my dad and mom moving here right after my dad got his degree. And he worked at what is now called INL, but at the time, I think it was INEL. And he worked here for about a year or two before moving. And it was so cool to see this little write-up about my dad in the paper in 1975 when he was just a young newlywed. And newspapers.com has so many of these stories. You know what I love? Look at the ad next to the write-up. Super values at the Salmon Pharmacy. Alka-Seltzer was 98 cents. Selsun Blue Shampoo, $2.29, normally $3.89. One-a-day vitamins, Clear Drops, eye drops, Ladies Shaver, $1.09. Tony's Permanent, I don't even know what that is. Hair dye, $1.44. Aim toothpaste, 87 cents. Adorn hairspray, $1.29. And then on the other side, they have this building supplies, panel, sheetrock, $1.69. 8 cents for pine casing and base. This was at P&L Builders Supply in Orem. I love, and then down below they have the laundry, 14 dryers, holiday coin, laundry. It is so fun for me to go back and read all these things. It's talk about nostalgia. And you can do this yourself too. Go to newspapers.com. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial, and we really appreciate all that newspapers.com does for us. I appreciate you watching here on this special edition, February 1st, Courtroom Insider of what's happening with the trial. We'll stay on top of it. Again, we'll be back tomorrow night to wrap up if we have a verdict. If we don't, we'll talk about closing arguments, 7 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow night. Back in Idaho. Good to be back. Oh, by the way, if you want to catch up on our vacation, I posted a few photos on my Facebook page. Here's where you can find me on Facebook, X, Twitter. X is Twitter, and Instagram right there. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't. We love to have you following along no matter where you're watching from. And again, thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.